Right at it. Right at it. Oh, he's done it again. Just as he did at the John Deere for his first win.
Welcome to episode 140 of the Go Get That podcast. Coming to you, well, this is dropping on Wednesday morning, but we are here. 140, a great number, I feel. It would have been a great score for Mr. Spieth to shoot through 2 rounds at Torrey Pines South. Unfortunately, I believe it was a lot higher than 140, and it led to a miscut.
140 would have been where Mr. Spieth would have finished in a full field.
That's well said. It was episode 140. Mr. Spieth was 150, I think. Was he 157? No, 148, 76, 74.
No, it was 150.
It was 150?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 76. 10 shots higher than the episode number. But a loss, a feeble performance for Mr. Spieth. A miscut at the Farmers, 5 of 9 at Torrey Pines in his career. Very impressive. I guess I'll give my opening thought, and then I'll let you guys chime in. I think we wrap up a 3-week stretch. I've kind of been stuck on a B- grade for the 3 weeks. I think we would have taken 1 week of contention for sure. I'm not sure if we would have ever. I don't know if we really thought he'd contend once. I consider Phoenix contending. But yeah, basically 2 miscuts and 1 really good week. So a B- for me.
I think B- is fair. I think that it's a B+ if he literally does remotely jack shit at the Genesis. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
That was tough, but fair.
I mean, if he finishes T38 with 1 good round of ball striking, it's a B+, given the situation. Instead, it was far from that. He joined the Olathables in the Weenie Cut group. Hopefully that's not foreshadowing what's to come in April.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think a B- B is about right. You mentioned contention in Phoenix, and he was behind one guy with 9 holes to play on Sunday afternoon. And obviously it didn't pan out particularly great on that back 9, but I think that was probably a better week than we expected from the beginning, from those 3 weeks. And then I think the other 2 weeks were I think Pebble was maybe about what I expected, kind of 2.5 tough rounds, but really good one on Sunday, and just kind of a mixed bag. And I think that was fair. And then Torrey was disappointing, to say the least, but I think there's plenty of reasons for, I don't know if like optimism is the right word, but I think there's some silver linings to Torrey Pines that I'd be happy to get into at some point, because I don't think it's never quite as good as it looks, and it's never quite as bad as it looks, and it's definitely not as bad as Torrey Pines was, but it small sample at Torrey as well, like this past weekend. So we'll see a couple weeks to
quite literally
get
a
set
small
for
sample.
right for Bay Hill, but
I remember someone gave me the take that it was a B+ regardless. And their reasoning was, and see, my problem with and why I'm so frustrated with the way the weeks played out is I just don't know where he's at. There's no pattern. And the reason for the B+ is that he really had 5 very good rounds sandwiched into 2 groups of 3, or no, 3 and 4, 3 and 2.
5-2.
Um, I mean, if you look at it that way, sure. I think the question I ask is what do you dislike more? What do you think's worse? The 3 rounds at Pebble or the 2 rounds at Genesis? And I think that um it's the 2 rounds at Genesis, even though it's one less round for play. Um I think that you have to build off of what he did in Phoenix in some way, and he just didn't do that. And it's just really disappointing, man. Like I I, I think that he plays he gets good conditions at Genesis, and I think it's a little bit different. Unfortunately, he didn't, and I think that affected him past that first round. Um, but that's just kind of what happened. So Mr. Schlehuber, friend of the program, always tough, always fair, believes that API is critical beyond belief. And I don't know if I'd agree to the extent that he believes it is. I'm pretty sure he believes that it is a career defining tournament, he said. Um, could be taking it a level past the truth, but it's big. Because at API, it's a course he plays well at. It's a course he knows. It's a course he knows how to putt at. And there's no reason after the way his irons didn't look one-offish at Phoenix. It looked like a repeatable swing. Looked like it was my favorite swing of his since his prime. And there's no reason with 3 weeks off. I know he's taking this week off, but with 2 weeks of work, it can't be that far off. And it's going to be sunny there. Um, I just think that, yeah, I think that it's going to be a pretty repetitive episode. I think we get into a few things. I'd like to get into the schedule coming up because I think we get a lot of things. I think that Dan mentioned he believes it could be no more three straights this year, and I think it's a fair statement. I don't think it's true, but I think it's fair. I think that it's possible. And the way the schedule is designed, he can make it work that way if he chooses. Um, we did the wrist did there was a flare up on 16 we can talk about, and I'd like to talk about the putter. But those are my opening thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to we might as well just start with the flare up on 16 because
Sure.
if you haven't seen the video, I guess it's kind of hard to find if you don't have ESPN Plus, and I don't even know if they
Mr.
still have
Speed Camp.
the recording. Oh, yes, Spieth Camp on Twitter actually might have the video.
Friend of the
So go
program.
check that out.
Friend of
Yeah,
the
friend of the
program.
friend of the program for sure. But that did not look good. And I think it kind of speaks to what I alluded to in our preview pod, which was ultimately, and this goes for kind of any week this season for the most part, like health is what matters the most. Because if he's not healthy and the wrist flares up, it doesn't matter. He's just gonna T61 at the John Deere Classic and eventually work his way into Corn Ferry Tour events. Like the whole, it's extreme. But the whole point is he needs to be healthy. And
Yeah.
16 was not healthy by any means. So it was huge. And this is part of the silver lining, I think, is 2 extra days to kind of reset and reevaluate after a 3 week stretch. But also that uh, interview slash article that Rex Hoggard wrote for NBC Sports saying that it was inflammation. Now, whether Spieth is being fully transparent on that or not, we won't really know. But if you take him for his word and it was truly just inflammation, I think then you can feel a little bit more confident about returning to the API with uh, a week of practice and kind of rehab under the belt, a better kind of understanding of how things act up after 2 or 3 weeks. How to take Mondays, for example, or maybe Wednesday afternoon, he just doesn't do anything or does more rehab or more therapy, whatever it might be, um, to kind of be feeling at his best for these tournaments. And obviously, I think if you watch the swing on 16, you think worst case that it popped out and the sheath retore and we're maybe starting from ground zero again. So, um, I mean, I wasn't watching live, but that the fact that 16 is, I mean, we were talking about it in the chat, right? That Thursday night, it was everybody was thinking like, man, where are we at with this? And the fact that it came out that it's possibly just inflammation feels like some of the best news of the week.
It was the second potential career-ending round in 3 weeks. We had one at Pebble.
Yep.
It's crazy.
That's
Shout out to I think we have to mention it, Daniel Chopra doing a mic check as Spieth potentially retore retore the sheet.
just
It's a rough performance from the Swede. One Swede, not Mr. Aberg, who won the golf tournament, but the Swede that was up in the booth calling the action. A rough outing from him.
but
Many
Bob,
are comparing his performance to those of the Swedes of the Four Nations. An early exit
Yeah.
for them. But jokes aside, it was scary in the moment. Um, I'm very pleased that it, even if it's not inflammation and Spieth is lying, um, it he was able to swing the club on Friday, and he didn't
yeah,
have the heat pad on.
didn't swing it well,
It was swung poorly, I'd argue,
but it
but
was swung. It
it
was
was
swung.
swung. And the little wins are important at this stage in this man's career. Um, I, it could just be one of those injuries where it's going to be really tough for him to get up for morning tee times on the West Coast for the rest of his career. It could be that. We hope it's not that. But if that's the worst case, I think we can move from that. Um, that can be solved other ways with wins elsewhere. It would stink because he does like a lot of golf courses on the West Coast. I'd say a good amount of them, but Phoenix, luckily, is usually pretty warm. Um, but it was scary. However, I'm really trying to give it time and see what happens Thursday at API without overreacting. So
That's the prudent play. I guess I'll bring the negativity. Someone's got to do it. It was a pathetic 36 holes. I don't care about the career. He doesn't play well here. If you're playing well, you can play well anywhere. He was going back to Phoenix. He was second in the field in approach play. He beat, I think, 3 guys in approach play over his 2 day stay at Tour. Like that just shouldn't happen. I like, and the thing with the wrist, and this is my opinion, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think it has a whole lot to do with the golf that's being played. I think the bunker shot, like he's alluded to, like I think in Rex's interview, he was saying the bunker shots and a couple of them, he'll feel like a sting. But when you're
I,
second in the field at Phoenix, it shouldn't translate to beating 3 dudes the week after. That just screams inconsistencies. Which he's
I
been an
agree with you.
inconsistent player for many years, so nothing new there in that regard.
I I agree with you from the aspect that it's got to be better than miscut. Miscut never should
It's a weenie cut,
have
as
been.
you said. It's a weenie cut.
It's it's
He I
Yes.
mentioned that he could have shot 72 on Friday, which was still the golf course played under par on Friday. He could have shot a below average round on Friday and still made the cut after the disaster that was Thursday, and he wasn't able to. So it's a little bit
Yeah,
disappointing from
I
that
think that
aspect.
I disagree with you on the point that it doesn't affect the golf. Because I think that, as we've said, Spieth is a very mentally, um, what would be the word? Um, Mentally affected golfer of the white ball. Everything that happens during the round, every outer circumstance plays a factor and where the ball goes, we've learned. So I think if it's hurting, again, um, like I don't think I think he can swing without, I think he can swing through the pain. I just think it just gets in his head and he can't commit to anything. So I do
That's
disagree that it doesn't affect the golf, but
Yeah, I think it affects him more from
it's
a mental standpoint than
yes,
anything else.
I
Uh,
think a good, unless you have something to say on this, Dan.
mm. No,
Um,
I think really quickly that I think there is at this point, and we'll see. 2 months from now, this will probably be gone, but I think there is still some physical like impact on the golf swing because I think there's the part of the issue, like the reason it was created, I think partly was like this bone chip in 2018 that didn't get solved, created problems. And that's kind of part of the reason we are here now. But I think also too, like the sheets partly tore because of repetitive motion. And I think playing for 3 weeks, hitting a bunch of shots, I'm not saying that every swing hurt like all get out, but I think there was probably some um, physical unpreparedness in that wrist for playing more competitive rounds. I mean, he probably played Wednesday, probably played Tuesday, or hit shots Tuesday, right? And I think there needs to be a readjustment of that. And I'm not trying to make uh sort of an excuse for it because I think at some point you can adjust more to how much the wrist can demand. I'm not saying this is like 100% of the reason he missed a cut, but I think there is probably, at least for now, I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt. And maybe I'm just the optimist on it of like there's probably a decent chunk of it is maybe the wrist just wasn't ready for more competitive golf in this sense. Does it excuse what 74, 76 when all it took was 74, 74 to make the cut? No. And the approach play being so poor? No. But I'm willing to uh, consider all factors in this before we get into, you know, this next stretch. But come May, I think the physical part disappears because it's like, well, you've had time to adjust. You've had time to figure
yeah,
out how to best prep for tournaments and whatnot. And maybe there
yeah,
is more physical issues that linger, but that's where I stand
I
on it for
think
now.
that I think we're overlooking something very big. And I think that it's a good segue because it was a pathetic, um, but pathetic 36 holes. But if Spieth putts average
Yeah.
on Thursday, we probably don't think much of that round. He probably shoots 73, and it is what it is, and we move on. And if he putts average on Friday, it's probably not as big difference. Probably another 73, maybe 72.
He missed the
I
cut
can't
by
really
two
think.
shots. So
Yeah, I mean, he definitely makes the cut with an average putter. I mean, he made nothing. He made one putt outside of 6 feet that I can remember all week, and it was that par putt towards the end of the round when the lights were shut off. So
It was in
I
garbage time already.
like I I understand the ball striking wasn't very good, but it wasn't far off. It was the same miss the entire time. And we know Spieth's not a very good in-round adjuster, but
It's a good point.
like it was the same miss.
It was long left. Yeah.
It was pulled, and it was 2 yards more of draw that made it look like a hook. It wasn't that ugly. It wasn't like he hit a few flares right after the wrist started acting up for like a hole or two, but then in a great iron shot at 18. Like, I just don't think we're having this conversation if he putts average on Thursday. I think he makes the cut and probably improves Saturday and Sunday. Conditions were much better, and we're feeling much better. I think the problem remains. The biggest problem with Jordan Spieth through these 3 weeks is if Phoenix was a pop week. If that's what a pop week looks like, we're in big trouble. Big trouble. And
Tons of trouble.
With the putter
I
specifically.
appreciate the way what?
You mean with the putter or just with the game?
With the putter. With the putter. If Spieth, I appreciate Spieth for making big putts on the weekend to keep himself in it. He made some nice 20-footers when he really needed to. His iron play dropped off a bit Saturday, and he made it up with the putter, like that 27-hole stretch from tee off Saturday to start of the back nine Sunday. He made some big putts, and I appreciate that. But he still missed a lot of chances all week. So if that's a pop week with the putter, that's the issue. It's not the ball strike. Like, he probably finishes right there, that T38 at Genesis, with a barely below average putting. He legitimately made nothing. So I think that's I need to see one more week. I think that it was masked. I think that the putting was masked by the conditions and how the round looked. But it was the putter that shot 76. It wasn't the ball striking. Everyone was struggling to hit good shots. No one was throwing darts around that place on Thursday. He had his chances. He missed them. And then when he was forced to scramble, he missed the 8-footers for par. Like, that's not how you succeed.
No, it's fair.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't totally disagree. I think the putter numbers are better than they should be. But I also think that the approach play was flatly just not that great this week either.
It wasn't great. No, it wasn't great. But he could have definitely got a T35 out of that ball strike.
He beat 4 dudes, not 3. My apologies.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So T34. No, but so
I also don't think the approach stats from Thursday are anything close to what he actually did.
Well, he hit the 3-wood out of bounds, which didn't help.
Yeah. That wasn't pretty.
And that was
that's minus 1 point something. Yeah. He also, I think he drove it decently this week. I know it wasn't great, but he did kind of hop back on the I drive the ball pretty good bandwagon. Yeah, it was an interesting stats week. Honestly, in hindsight, I'm kind of just glad we're through Torrey at Genesis or Genesis at Torrey. I don't think that week was ever the third week of 3 on the trail when this dude was talking about 3 weeks ago. He has pretty much zero expectations for how this is gonna go. Would it have been nice to see a much better result at the third week? Of course, because it was pretty poor. But I'm glad it's just in the rearview mirror now, and I think that there's enough to be kind of optimistic or encouraged or feel like decent stuff is coming in the next kind of wave, which I guess we can talk about too, in the next wave of what
I think
is
the more
wave?
Is I didn't get a tell from Genesis. It was very hard to tell what actually was going on in this game.
Yeah. Well, you've seen both sides of it now.
Yeah.
Like we've seen,
So yeah, I think we need to see what happens in that wave, like you
yeah,
said. So sorry,
seen the
my
high
connection's
and
been unstable.
no, seen the high and we've seen the low through 3 weeks. And I think it's unfortunate that the high,
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully there was a high, right? But it
Yeah.
was sandwiched in between all of the low. Um, so you kind of think about it if he had played Farmers or something and skipped Genesis, and the Farmers was the first week, and that's how Torrey went, and then he played Pebble, and then he played Phoenix, and we're ending on that high. It's like, man, we're trending whatever. Um, but because this is the order of operations, it's uh, man, where is everything stand? And that's a very fair and valid question. And we know we'll see him
I mean,
at
shout out.
Arnie's event, but I guess it's certainly hard to be confident in what's coming, right? So
Shout out to friend of the program, Andy Lack. He read Jordan Spieth like a book this week.
yeah, that's
So,
fair.
It was the tip of the cap. Tip of the cap to Andy. Tip of the cap to Miss
yeah,
Elise for
Andy.
having the winner, Aubert.
Yes.
Yes, Albert,
Yes. Congrats.
give it to you too,
These.
Bob.
Leads the
Thank
triple
you.
double standings. I do want to get back into this real quick, so I had some thoughts. Thing is, and there's some positives and some negatives here in my splurge of thoughts. Dan says he could have played Farmers. Phoenix could have been the last week. Would have been good because he played well at Phoenix. But at the same time, I posed this question in our group chat last night. Is he ever like going to be capable of top tenning at a place like he's typically not good at? Like he always plays well at
You
Phoenix, or he
mentioned
typically does. So it's like,
you mentioned the mindset. That like
yeah,
it's like he goes into weeks and doesn't courses he doesn't play at differently.
yeah, no, I think so. I think, yeah, 100%. I think he goes into weeks like Phoenix, even Augusta, Bay Hill. I play well here. But then he'll go into players like, I never really play here. It's like less confidence. And it's just like, you can't do that. But good news, well, bad news first. Uh, really impressive. Spieth's 8 of 9 times now at Torrey in his lifetime, he's lost strokes putting. I mean, that's impressive. 8 of 9 times on those POA greens, he's lost strokes putting.
Hard to do.
It's impressive. But the good news, Mr. Sponsor Exemption will be back at Bay Hill, and he's gained strokes putting 3 of 3 times he's played there. So that's something to be optimistic about. Mr. Schleber's right, friend of the program again. It's going to be a massive week because it's, as we said, it's one of those weeks where he knows mentally that he plays well at. So he's probably going to expect to play well at.
This
Um,
this Mr. Schlehuber guy is right about a lot of things, it seems.
yeah, I mean, he would tell you
Seems to
that.
have the
He would.
pulse quite well.
Yes, he's right about a lot of things.
He's not afraid to tell you when he's right either.
No,
That's well
it's very
said.
tough and very fair. We bring him on the pod for majors. I believe that he had a prediction um relating to Finau that was correct, while
what
also tough there. Um,
was said
again,
prediction?
uh, don't remember the exact prediction,
All right, we'll
but
have to reach out to him for further comment.
we will.
I
We will.
I think
Especially after
looking
the
at,
birth of Mr. Finau's new child. Congrats.
yeah.
Congrats to the Finau's, the many.
Congrats to the Phenols, yes.
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 No.
I think for optimism, just one more thing, and then we can get into whatever topics are on deck. But I think we'll play well at API. We'll get into that preview in a couple weeks, but I've said quite a bit of negative stuff just because I'm trying to, look at it from both sides. I think he'll play well. I think the Heat, knock on wood, we're entering March through the rest of the damn year where, I mean, besides going over to Scotland and Northern Ireland for those two events, you expect to get warm weather for the most part. I mean, you can get Augusta, you can get some cold and wet. We'll just have to hope we don't get that. But I mean, the majority of the weeks, it's going to be 75 degrees at a minimum starting at API, hopefully, and then we'll get to Texas for those events whichever ones he chooses to play, and you'll hope it'll be 90 and hot. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're out of that West Coast swing of cool weather, which is nice. It's funny too. I look back at the 3 week stretch and I look at Pebble too. I kind of just threw Pebble away. I don't think that of the three, that one holds as much weight as the other two, just because they're more recent. Um,
Agree.
so, but yeah, it wasn't good. But I think when I'm looking at the current state of his game, I don't really consider much of what we saw at Pebble.
Yeah, I'd agree. Well, because I think part of it too is like it just got washed by Phoenix, and then we're wondering how
Yeah,
much of Phoenix got washed by Torrey, right? It's
yeah,
like there
that's
was
fair.
no, but and kind of on that point though, in general, like he's played 10 competitive rounds since uh the surgery, and 5 of them were really darn good, and the other 5 were kind of the opposite. So like Bob's kind of alluded to and whatnot, like we just need more of a sample. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate because we're
Because we're
3, 4, 5 events away from Augusta. And the
and
players
I
is
was gonna go a completely different route. I was gonna say we're very impatient fans.
oh, well that I guess as
So
well.
it's gonna be
But
a long 3 weeks waiting for the rest of the sample.
yeah, but the
But
season comes quick. Like the API players
yeah,
is the next 2
yeah.
events.
I'll say
Um,
this. I'll
is
say
he
Those
in
this.
the
big boy
players field?
events.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I
they let
believe
everyone play
players
that event.
exemptions. I believe the players exemptions are similar to the majors.
No, ooh, no, I don't
Yeah.
think so.
He's also top
No.
like
The
60 in
players field's
FedEx Cup.
massive.
Yeah.
They
But they
let
have
everyone play in the players.
I
yeah.
was going to say, I think that someone asked me how far he is away from a win. I actually think that
Oh, come on.
Is a healthy Spieth is um if he can pop, I mean, he could have won Phoenix. I mean, Thomas Dietrich doesn't exist. Very well could have won that. However, I think we are many, many moons of steps away from contention at Augusta. I think that the major is a different animal. I think that mentally it's a different animal. I think that there needs to be a lot of progress in the
Yeah.
next few events for him
He's
to have a
also
chance at Augusta.
he's
Could he
also
win the Valspar if he's healthy? Sure. I don't think he's that far away technically. But putting everything together, you don't have to do that to win the Valspar. You do to win the Masters. So that's my answer to that question. Someone sent me in and wanted me to discuss it because last night I was too tired to respond to it.
yeah.
I have a
So I said,
question
I'll
for you,
answer it on the
Dan.
pod.
Yeah.
Question for you. Do you remember? I think it was last year at Century. Spieth wrote a word on a piece of paper.
Hmm.
Remember that word?
Yeah, I believe it was consistency.
Yeah, let's get it. I don't want to put Bob's follower down because I'm not that type of person, but we need more green data golf boxes first.
Yes, that is
Like
well said.
he just
I
crapped the bed for 36 holes at Torrey Pines.
well,
Like we need to just play
I
stack weeks, I would think.
I don't disagree, but I do disagree at the same time, depending on how you're asking the question.
He can
His
win,
game needs
but
more consistency, but
yeah,
I'm past the point as a fan needing consistency. I do not care how he plays the majority of the year if he can win once a year for the rest of his career. I'm
you'd
done with.
appreciate being in the mix on many Sundays though and giving yourself chances.
I would I would cross that off in a heartbeat for a win every year the rest of his career.
Yeah, it's fair. But I think the goal is to give yourself as many chances as possible at
Yeah.
wins. And I think that's just what he wants to do. Because if like he did that in 21 and he won once and he should have won 3, 4 times. But he gave himself we have all those events we can look back on because he was in the mix that many times, which I think is the goal. He can win right now. So to answer the followers' question, like he can win, but I think you should expect good play and chances to lead to wins, not
Yeah.
just if he can lose. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
Well, no, I was just gonna say that like I think you'll see the win coming if it comes. I'm not
Yeah.
sure he's the type to just pop into a win mentally, you know, unless there's an absolute crumble, which happened at
I don't know.
Harbor
I don't
Town in
know. I think
2022.
it's I learned something at Phoenix that it's he's very different now than he was the last few years. Just because I think he has a new sense of confidence when he's not in pain, that he didn't have before. I mean, if he won at Phoenix, what like you guys like we're all like that would have been the pop of all pops. I mean, that would have been out of
Yeah,
absolute
Yeah.
but he didn't win at
no.
Phoenix.
He didn't, but he didn't because of a
He didn't do much
thuggish
wrong at
Belgian.
Phoenix. I'll give him that.
No, well, so that's the other thing is like he played it really well at Phoenix and he still got clipped by two other guys because his back nine was one under.
I still don't think he loses to Michael Gambit.
It's a
Obviously, he
different
doesn't exist.
tournament.
No,
But yeah,
I don't disagree, but I think if you take away Dietrich from that tournament, I'm not sure Spieth wins on Sunday. I'm not sure
I
he's
think he
ready.
does. Based on how I
ooh,
felt
that's some
in the
confidence right
moment, I
there.
think he does.
I mean, I appreciate the confidence.
I like
I
Uh,
that,
think there
Bob.
was a different I think he had a different feel than he has in many years. Um, maybe
that's
since
fair.
2021. But
I would argue
I'll
that
went to
watching, I was just gonna say, I would argue that watching Berger, had the same thought too. And I've seen
yeah,
straight
no, I
vibing
agree.
kill. Like he took down
I
Speed
agree.
before.
I could see Berger winning in a few weeks. I
Yeah.
could see Berger
Bob,
winning an event this year
do you
very
think
much
Berger
so.
fears Spieth?
No. Um, I
So
think he sees him as an equal.
That's fair.
equal.
Probably.
That's fair. And I guess my point is like I don't doubt because I think now too, like we have more evidence to suggest that he could win the API. Like there was a week where the irons were really darn good. And
Yeah.
that's just the trend. It's like if you hit the ball well, right, you're gonna play well. And that's typically what leads to consistency and good
The good,
results. And throughout his career, that's been the when he
yeah.
hits the ball really well, he's gonna be there and he's gonna knock on the door and eventually the door is gonna fall. Um,
I think my point probably was that I can see a path to win any of the upcoming weeks. There were many tournaments last year where there was a negative path. There was zero path.
yeah, I don't
Um,
disagree with
and
that.
that might be that might be a better way to word what I was saying about how, yes, I don't think we'd have to see it coming, but maybe if you're saying Phoenix was us seeing it coming, maybe
Yeah.
that's fair.
No, I think Phoenix is in the corner of this is what we look back on to say we have now seen it coming, or we could have possibly seen it coming. Um,
How did he play at Riv after 2021?
at Riv in 21,
This could
it was
my tables
T15.
take away.
It was a T15.
I briefly remember that. Yeah, he
He
was
was
never
like
really in it though.
he wasn't
Yeah,
like in it, but it
but
wasn't.
he hit it well.
It was just fine. It
Yeah,
was like he just played, three or four events in a row and was in deep contention for 2 weeks straight. And it's kind of like, yeah, at some point you're going to run out of gas a little bit. It's kind of what the weekend felt like. But I mean, I guess too,
well, I
like,
guess
kind of leads into like,
yeah.
and we know API, we know players. I kind of, I think he plays the Valspar, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's a bit of a schedule shakeup leading into Augusta. Um,
Yeah,
I,
I
I,
I I don't think it happens, but I think that your take is fair. I think that he might have finished these 3 weeks and been like, yeah, that's not for me this year. Too early. We're gonna play in sets of two. And I think that could bring a lot of things in the mix. I mean, um, that PGA part of the year is usually four in a row.
Yeah.
Um, he'd have to take the week before the Masters off because I'd be shocked if he didn't play Hilton Head. Because it's a signature event, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
He'll be there.
Yeah. And he's,
But
there. Yeah.
I think that my bigger thing is, I don't think he likes. I think he likes going to places where he plays well, which is why I don't think he drops Valspar. Yeah, so what? It's API players, then Valspar, then
Houston,
what? Houston. Okay.
Houston, Valero.
I just don't see him taking
That
feels
Valspar.
That feels
I don't
quick.
see him taking Valspar and Valero off. I guess that's why I'm against your take.
Yeah. So
If it wasn't that way, I could maybe see it. But is he really going to take off two places he's played well in the past? Not that he's played great at Valero, but he's played well last year. It was probably best event post disaster.
Past champion, baby.
Yeah, and he won in 2021, but regardless of that, and it's also a disaster score. But I digress. I just don't see him taking off two places that he's won at for a course that, I mean, what's the only time he's played this course was in the fall, right?
Yeah, it was he was actually T1 through 13 holes. And then
I actually think
that was a very exciting week.
I believe it's a different course now.
It's not Memorial Park.
It's still Memorial Park.
I don't know.
I think so.
2020 was Golf Club of Houston.
Oh, what's it now?
Which he did not play at the Golf Club of Houston in 2020.
No, he played at Memorial Park because that course was hard. He was like -1 it.
He did, yeah. Yeah, it was a miscut.
Yes.
T1 through 13 miscut.
Yeah. And then it was the Masters the next week.
I
believe.
What?
Wasn't it the Masters the next week?
Well, Houston was in the fall that year, I believe. It couldn't have been before the Masters.
No, I think he means the fall Masters. It's possible.
I think it was.
The fall Masters. Yeah, that went well.
Yeah, because there was no Masters in the spring.
Yeah, you make
I think so. I know Houston is not a place he's been in a while. I don't know. I know he has a couple decent results there when they played in the spring. I just think it's a way to get, I like the Valspar. And actually I don't mind the Oaks course in San Antonio. So I'd be disappointed to have him skip, but it just, you take a week, get a little therapy done, you get some work in with Cam at home. You don't go very far for Houston. You come back, get a little bit more work done, and get up to Augusta with a fresh wrist. I think I value
also
the health.
If it is
a lot, maybe more so than the quality of or the amount of reps, I suppose, at this stage.
It's fair. I think that Spieth enjoys playing. I don't think Spieth likes hard golf holes. If it's still Memorial Park, that's a lot of. I think Spieth wants to play a few weeks of just firing darts. I don't think Spieth wants to have to grind and get down to the nitty gritty.
Well, where are the darts being fired? San Antonio? Valspar players in API aren't the easiest.
They're not easy, but they're not Memorial Park. Memorial Park's probably 12 under winner. I mean, I guess Oaks course has that potential.
Oaks.
I think Bob has a point anyway. I don't think Spieth enjoys playing hard golf courses.
I disagree with
now
that.
I will say this.
What?
I disagree with that.
What?
I think he enjoys it because it requires creativity, and hard usually means firm, and I think that he prefers firm.
Torrey
I
Pines
think
was
that's fair.
hard.
I think that Memorial Park would be. It seems like it's a pretty similar course to Augusta. Rough's not too long. Course is firm. Greens are
They
pretty
had some weird
firm.
slopes on them from what I remember.
Weird slopes. It's a much better warm up than the Oaks course, that's for sure.
Well, that was also part of my thinking is like,
I don't. Again, Speed doesn't like change.
yeah,
He doesn't like
that's
tough.
that's the main part of it.
Um,
He likes tough.
I, I
Torrey is a different. The challenge with Torrey is the repetition. It's almost
yeah, I
it's almost
agree.
too easy that Spieth is like not mentally engaged at Torrey. It's the same thing. Driver straight, iron straight. Some of these other tougher places are curve it here, bend it here. And I, I guess, yeah, Spieth just has a different idea of what a challenge might be than some other golfers. But anyway,
Spieth needs to play Valspar. I think that he has to
I'd agree
play
with that though too,
Valspar.
because that's a good chance to win.
He's putted well there. He's gained strokes putting six of like he needs to find places where he puts well because I think we're kind of in agreement that's probably the biggest if question mark right now and go to places you putt well at because he's gained strokes there 6 of 7 he's won there but yeah I mean personal preference I don't know what he's going to do I'd love to see him play Houston over Valero
I would too. I just
why
don't
not
see four in a
Was it
what would it
sorry.
be 4 in a row
row. In
Yeah,
what?
I think so.
That's
Unless
out of
like
the question then
Unless Puerto Rico is slid in there or something like that.
I
No,
don't think it
I
I don't
don't
is.
think
know
so. I think
how the
it's
schedule works, but
He's not playing 4 in a row
was it
then, so you can cross that off.
no. Was it Mr. Mills this past week?
I think so.
Okay. I
Can't
hope he's still
confirm
in the
it, but
bag come API.
I think
Because I
is
think that'd be
I think
nice
it was
to
Mr. Mills.
get back on what Florida's Bermuda, right?
Yeah,
Bent grass.
I can look.
it depends on the type of depends on the time of year. Right now,
It's not Pella.
probably bad.
API is Bermuda.
Okay.
Is it already Bermuda this early? I guess it's March by that time.
Yeah.
Players is POA. I didn't know that. That's
Oh,
interesting.
no
No wonder he
wonder.
puts exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say that
Exciting. Looking forward to the edge of 17.
yes. Greller
Every
thrusting his
year,
way onto the
Mr.
property.
Schleber again brought this up. Every year, I get myself excited for the players.
The players, they just this past few years, like since COVID, they've just found a little magic,
They
you know,
have. I will give them that. We'll
in their
give them
marketing.
that.
And think of their winners the past. By the way, isn't Scheffler's going for the three-peat, isn't he?
He is.
So it's you've got Scheffler, and then Thomas in 22,
Rory
and
21.
who won in 21? Or was it
Rory.
Thomas in 21?
It
Well,
was Rory and Thomas seniors. I think
it might have been Thomas in 21 and McIlroy in 22.
probably that. Yeah.
Was
You guys want a
McIlroy
plot
But
twist? Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Spieth in 25.
Valspar is also POA greens.
Oh,
Did not know that. There's actually more POA than you would think.
yeah.
Believe
I
it or
was
not.
woke.
Florida
I won't
Power, then.
deny that.
I mean, to be fair, it's the POA at Torrey Pines sucks.
It's different. Yeah, it's definitely
The
different.
surfaces just aren't very good.
There's POA
I don't
Anua and then POA Travalis. However you want to put that. The
So is
Anua is
Florida's
Florida's the Trivialis,
okay. Yeah.
whereas the Anua is on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So it's a different type for the
Okay.
grass nerds. I'll have to figure out the difference between the two. But The more you know.
No, that is
Yeah.
fascinating to think. It's a fun stretch coming up. We'll see how many birdies are made. Eagles, maybe we
Yes, how many
yes, some
donations to the
donation.
kids?
I think the first 96 were paid and another six from Torrey.
Six
He
dollars.
allotted. Those will go. I think we're gonna do it by swings. Um, so however many plays this next kind of swing will be uh deposited into the family foundation.
Heck yeah.
Um,
Let's get another $100.
yeah, no, exactly. It's we're excited because you know the more we're donating, the better he's playing. So that's seems like a reasonable ask there. But any final thoughts on Torrey? Or are we ready to just kind of leave it in the rear view mirror and
I'm ready to move on. Frankly, I don't like talking about that round. It was not that tournament. It wasn't fun. I had a lot of fun at Phoenix. Like those, like man, I didn't get to talk about it much last episode, but those feelings that he gave at Phoenix were greatly missed. Greatly missed. And I'm ready to move past the feelings that he gave us at um, Genesis. So yeah, I think we have a lot to look forward to that's positive. Um, the condition if the conditions are good at the players,
watch
just
out?
simply needs to be a top 30. It just simply needs to be a top 30. There's no excuse for anything else.
Yeah, there
But
won't be a, well, knock on wood, there won't be a weather excuse. There would only be a I don't play well here excuse. But we shall see what the weather will be once we get there.
Yeah. The projected for Orlando for Arnie's event looks pretty good as of right now.
Yeah, I had that up right now.
Because I know
77
Florida.
degrees 10 days from now.
Yeah, Florida is there can be some times in kind of late February where it gets a little up and down. Um, and I don't, the other thing too, we can get this in the preview as well, but just another like week and a half to recover, work on a few things. Like I think the wrist is only gonna get, we're still in the part where it's getting healthier, is my take. Like physically, more stamina, more just kind of better prepared to play professional golf. I don't think we're in the declining phase where it's back to it's at its peak or it's, past its peak. Like I think we're getting to that spot and, a few days off doesn't hurt. Um, a few more days of improvement and therapy and whatever else is needed. But uh man, I wish we were at API already because it's kind of boring
that's my thing. I just can't
going to
wait
work
now
on
because now we
Thursday.
have this horrible week after the greatness, and it's just like, why is this what we have to be left with? But
Yeah.
it flew by. I mean,
The
the rest of the week
seasons
in
go quick,
advance, it's
man.
fine. I mean, we
It's the
can't be wishing these days away. At the end of the day, he's becoming an old man.
Yeah. He's
So
gonna be 32 before this season's over. I mean, he was filming something with Trevor Immelman for his 10-year master anniversary.
We'll save that.
Like,
That's
if you don't
speculation,
remember
though.
last year,
crazy.
Jim Nantz gave the eulogy of Jordan Spieth at the Masters.
He will rise from the dead. So it was funny. You mentioned it earlier, like how he kind of expects to play well at the Masters. And his last three Masters appearances have been MC T4 MC. So it's kind of like
That's on brand.
that's just so fitting these days. Um, but
You're saying
yeah,
he's
I don't.
due.
I, he's due. But he also like part of that too, though, is when he plays well there, he trends. Like you can see it in how he's playing going in. He's playing well in
Why
23.
do we need to see something?
Yeah.
So yeah, and Phoenix could be that something. and hopefully API is at something, and then the players is a further something,
Well,
and
it's
he's
another
holding
reason
goal.
why you play Valspar though, because you play events that should give you confidence because you played well there in the past.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess that's where he needs to figure out what the line is between going the third week and resting or playing,
Yeah.
like just that whole balance. And that's stuff that we can only speculate on. But
To Bob's point though, I sense confidence from him. I think he just wants more reps. I think there's confidence there after Phoenix.
I agree.
I would hope,
Just needs health.
yeah, I would frickin' hope that Torrey didn't bring him down. And I don't think it did. But we will see at API where his headspace, because I mean, API is going to be quite a bit of par golf there. So
Yeah.
smart golf and just
Oh,
quality iron shots to the middle of the green and two putting is going to a lot of
API's
what the week will be.
API is a good course.
Great
Very good
course.
course.
shall we get into our picks for the
Oh
Mexico?
yes. Mexico.
You're the you're the leader.
Actually, is it Bob?
Bob's the
Thank
leader.
you for thank you for the Tom Kim Club Twirl down 6 holes.
Oh, no, I think I've got Bob clipped
Oh yeah,
per the
yeah, yeah. You
standings.
do have him clipped by like 50K.
Fee now. Fee now.
It was a
Fee now.
slow start, but I've thrusted back.
Dude, you have so many zeros on the board and then just a 4 million Obear.
Yep. Yep. I
Well played.
mean, it goes to show we're getting better at hitting out rights at least.
Yeah, true. That's what our third
Yeah.
of the year in 6 events.
Yeah.
It's not great. Could be better, but
It's
way
actually
better than
pretty good
nothing.
because Elisa's cards are what, Bob? Usually 5 to 9 guys.
True. That's
So
fair.
if you take all of our picks and make it like one card, and granted, I mean we're not taking many long shots on a weekly basis, but we're still doing pretty damn good. I mean, I hit Straka. He was I think 70 to 1 when he won.
Yeah. Nick
Um,
Taylor, 100
yeah, Taylor
something.
was out there. So yeah, if you took all our guys and made it into one card,
Yeah.
the
We'd be
Go Get
doing
That
pretty well.
podcast is doing pretty darn well.
Bob, I don't know who a dude is that you've picked this week. So I kind of almost want you to start to explain
Oh, I know
who
who
is
that
the
is.
who is the third man on your list.
Massachusetts native Michael Thor Bjornsson.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I've heard of him then. I thought it was just Mike
yes.
Thor. I was like, who is Mike Thor? That dude is gonna be a
No.
killer.
So Mr. Thor is Massachusetts native. He might have won the Mass Open. The just qualifying event. Um, but yeah, Mike Thor, Akshay, the favorite, and I'm going with Steven
Jaeger
Yeager.
bomb.
So I'm out of Steven Yeager for the
Sorry to hear that.
year.
That is a tough blow when he thrusts at Houston. Didn't because he beat.
Yes, I may be on my thrust back, but must be noted that I'm out of Steven Yeager uses. So
He was like the one guy to beat Scheffler in that stretch last year. API players, Masters, and he beat him at Houston, which is crazy. But anyway, Jordan, me or you?
I'm still figuring out my third guy, so you.
Okay, I'll roll then. Let me get the Zoom out of the way. I've got Samuel Stevens. Played pretty well this year. Popped early in the a few weeks ago at Farmers, I believe. Actually, Torrey Pines South was a very good course fit for this, which I think is interesting. So we'll see if he's got a little bit more in the tank. Taylor Moore, not a fan, but if he can make me a little cash this week, I wouldn't mind. And then Jake Knapp, defending champ. He's been playing decent as of late. Just kind of 9 holes or 18 holes, I guess, that are kind of making his finishes not as maybe elite as they could be, but defending champ, you just got to bomb it around here. Like this is there's a reason Rom and Finau are always at the top of the board here. So those are my 3 plays for the week.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, I got to do it. I'm going Akshay. Uh, I was. This is kind of a
Very
tough week,
fair.
to be honest. I'm going Akshay simply because Dan doesn't have him, and I think he's the best player in the. I mean, he's the favorite. So if he wins, Dan, our current leader, will falter. So I got to go with Akshay. And then it was either him or Rasmus, and Wygard freaking shot a million last week. So I don't want to go him. Other picks, I'm
Very
going
clear.
Alex. Go ahead.
If Dietrich did not exist, Wygard would be a winner this year on tour, as he would have replaced him by running away with the tournament.
That's a fair point. Fair point.
Uh,
Next guy I'm going is Alex Smalley. He's 101st in the data golf rankings, but he's got 3 T21s in his last 4. He's been playing well. Kind of haven't seen his name thrown out there a whole lot, but I liked him. Hold on. I feel like he played well here, and that was part of why I picked him. But anyways, Smalley, and I'm going Kurt Kitayama. I think it's my first player of all guys. Kurt Kitayama is going to be the first guy I used twice this year. I used
Wow.
him at the Amex, and he disappointed me. But I'm going to give him another whirl this week, and we'll see how it goes. I really like the Smalley pick, though. That's a little bit more out of left field. Kind of one of those ones I want to be right on. Last week it was Minwoo Lee for me, and he played a great first round and then crapped the bed the next 54 holes. So, yeah, my 3 picks.
Nice. I think is Elise in last.
Yeah. By a nice
Elise
margin, too.
known for her
Good.
poor golf picks.
Yes, I'm glad that we are establishing our dominance.
That's well said.
She is not just going to come
Well
in
said.
to our podcast game and thrust.
She absolutely could.
And there's
Well,
money on the line. It means more.
yeah,
We must keep the lead, because when she gets on a heater, she gets on a heater. It's just unfortunate that she didn't take her own outright last week.
yeah, that is true. That is true. But
I'd argue, I'd argue it's fortunate for us, but
It's quite
no, it's
fortunate.
huge. There is some like strategy to this.
yeah. Oh,
So we'll see. Maybe it just takes her a year to figure it out, but that's all I've got. It's a beautiful Tuesday evening, and I appreciated chopping it up with y'all tonight. So
good
Well
pleasure.
said. Yeah, I'm excited for these 2 weeks to breeze by. I'm ready. I am ready for more Spieth golf because, yeah, we said it. We haven't really got a big enough sample size to make big judgments, and Florida will be good for that because, assuming he plays Valspar, that'll be a 3-week stretch where 2 of those golf courses he's not owned but played very well at. So
yeah, and I believe API, because it's a signature small field, there is a weenie cut. is often twosomes, I believe,
that'd
which
be
is
nice.
also exciting
You
because
mentioned the cut. The cut cannot be a problem at API.
yes,
Yeah.
well, we'll see.
If that's in play,
If the
we
cut is, yeah, we'll have issues, but that's not for March. That's not until March, so
yeah.
we'll get there when we get there. But until then, maybe we'll come on and do something in between, but we'll see.
Maybe we'll get some news. Who knows? Who knows what could happen?
Yes,
Who
the
knows?
news. Go Celtics.
Until then, go Celtics. Yeah, sure. Take care, everyone.
Peace.